So
I'd like to do more. You know, Mark, I gotta be honest with you, people's behavior is increasingly bizarre and you know,
that's a good way of putting it. Bizarre.
yeah.
No,
So,
I'll definitely support that. Absolutely.
Greg, what are you up to? That much? Crazy. Tell me about it.
My son.
how you doing? Hi, Judy. Good. How about you? Again.
It's already got us live streaming, so I just wanted to make sure the microphones were off because we got 9 minutes.
Mark, are you okay? I did this morning. I visualized something this morning, so you guys can recognize that I did look at it. I saw it, yeah. Sometimes I do that, and they suppose that I really didn't steer.
I put a gold star in it. You can go out. Hi, Bob. Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is why. Cigar spot from 9/11, Bobby Crumb. I checked them all in the morning, and then I wasn't getting any of the homework. Here you are. Thank you. I see how they're doing. There it is, much better. Okay. Find it. So yeah, this is when the question you know what? Big one, there's two little ones. So I'm saying, if you don't jump on that. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's August 28th, 2023 Town Board meeting. We do have two public hearings for this evening, slated for 6 o'clock. First one being a low-income seniors tax exemption amendment. Ray, before we actually open the public hearing, I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to say or needed to say before we do so?
I don't think so.
Okay, so at this time, we'll open a public hearing. We'll call it at 6 o'clock. And for anyone that has any comments concerning such. Okay, then I say we will close public hearing then. We have it 6:01 yet? Or not? A little soon? That was a quick minute, wasn't it? We can wait 45 minutes, hour. Okay, so we will close that public hearing. Next public hearing is for tax exemption for persons with disabilities and limited income, and that's also an amendment. And we will open that public hearing at whatever time it is now, 6:02 maybe? Okay, 6:01. How about those Yankees, Al? Doing pretty good, aren't they?
Yes.
No, they're not.
Moving right along.
They're doing awful. No one from the public on that? We'll give this a solid minute. I don't want to rush it, in case there's anybody. Okay, we'll call it. Jen, you talked me into it. All right, we'll close the public hearing now then. Thank you, everyone. So at this time, I'd like to ask everyone please to stand, to salute the flag, a silent prayer. And I would just like to mention, in keeping the Ballet family in your prayers and thoughts, Pete Ballet was a longtime member, staple of the community, and lost his life over the weekend. So for the Ballet family, I'd ask that you please remember them in this time of sorrow. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Pete Ballet, he was a friend of mine, and a lot of people in this room, as a matter of fact. Longtime Malta resident. He was a highway superintendent for between 16 and 18 years, I believe. Had a beautiful farm. He's got a beautiful family. Ballet Flower and Gift, I believe, is the name of the shop right next door. I've been there a number of times. I can't remember what it's actually named, but anyway, that's Pete's daughter, Suzanne Ballet's at a wonderful shop there, a new addition that we actually cut a ribbon on earlier this year. But it's a sad day for us in Malta, those of us, and there's a lot of people that knew Pete. He was a volunteer firefighter as well, very community-minded and very active in our community. So again, condolences to the Ballet family. So at this time, I'd like to ask for acceptance of the minutes, the clerk's minutes from 8/7/23.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried, thank you. Comments from town board and department heads. Briefly, I just wanted to mention the Malta Sunrise Rotary is going to be sponsoring, or hosting rather, a blood drive at the Malta Community Center. That is Monday, September 18th. It's 1 to 6 p.m. And we'll be posting this for folks to see. Aside from that, I didn't have anything else to add. Any other board members, anything you'd like to discuss? Any department heads, anything they want to bring up? Okey doke.
Christian's going.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah. Community Day, yes, that's right. Thank you.
9 September.
Yes, because our next board meeting is actually September 11th, so that is going to occur before. So thank you very much, Kristen. That's thrown a bunch of us off with that extra day, or extra week rather, in between meetings, so thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, we do have a presentation tonight. I saw Mr. Meager here somewhere. It's from the Town of Malta Global Foundries Foundation as a grant kickoff for 2024. And with that, it's always a pleasure to see our former supervisor, Mr. Meager, and welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm Dave Meager, not here as former town supervisor, but as treasurer of the Global Foundries Town of Malta Foundation. If you want to see what I used to look like, there's a picture back in the corner. I was privileged to be supervisor for 34 years here, and always have a soft spot in my heart for the town of Malta. Just to give a little history, I've got two of our board members are here tonight. Believe it or not, our chairman, Jennifer Pickering, is flying back from India today and said she didn't think she could make it, which I thought was an understatement. But we do have, if they'd want to stand up, I have two of the other board members. We have, our newest member is Serena Sapienza, who works for Global. And then I think you all know Woody Sloat, who is town judge here in Malta. The foundation board is made up of 5 people. The way it was structured, there were 2 from Global, 2 appointed by the town board, and those 4 chose the 5th representative. The other person I didn't mention, who usually would be up here making the presentation tonight, is Karen Hagan. Karen is a name you'll probably recognize, a Malta resident who is the district attorney. Just to give a little history, when I was supervisor, when Global Foundries was making their application to come into Malta, it was a lengthy process and roughly 2 years. What we did, there was so much involved that we set aside 1 meeting a week for a 2-year period to discuss the application. And one of the things we were able to negotiate was that Global Foundries would give the town of Malta $5 million. They'd pay $5 million. Stillwater got $1 million because part of the property is in the town of Stillwater. Most of it's in Malta. The other $1 million went for the ball field up there on the Global Foundries property. The other $3 million went into a foundation. The foundation, so this foundation started with $3 million. We've been in, and what we do, our bylaws say that we can contribute to any organization that will benefit the people of the town of Malta in some way. So it's very specific in that regard. It's got to benefit the people of the town of Malta in some way. So the reason I'm here tonight is that to say we're open for business. We have a window where people can make applications, usually nonprofits, fire departments, senior citizens, ambulance squad, and other worthwhile organizations, including the town of Malta, applies for some of the grants. It's very, well, let me go back and say the doors are open the 6th of September. And we have a website, and you can go on the website and fill out an application, and it will be considered. You can also mail in an application. And we would urge anybody with a worthwhile project to benefit the town to apply. You can apply anytime between the 6th of September to the 30th of October. And then the board gets busy reviewing the applications. Usually we get requests for about $500,000. Our goal is to give out about $150,000 a year. I'm happy to say, as treasurer, we started, I think it was 2010, 2011, with $3 million. Over that period of time, we've awarded grants of roughly $1.2 million. And the last report that I got from our investment companies is that we still have $3.4 million in our coffers. So even if we give away $150,000 this year, we still, for the foreseeable future, will have that $3 million. That's sort of our goal, as best we can, to grant awards and still retain that principle. So we're open for business. We solicit your applications. Anybody has any questions, I'm glad to try to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for your attention. Thank you for taking us first. I attended a lot of meetings over a 34-year period, so I think I might leave now. And we appreciate you taking us first. And Global Foundries has been a wonderful asset to the town of Malta. They've dedicated Malta as their headquarters, and we all know that we need chips. And so I think the future is bright for Global Foundries in the town of Malta. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for taking me first.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Foundation does some great things for the town of Malta. Thank you and the foundation very much. Okay, comments from town residents. Anyone have anything they'd like to say? I think that might be Kathy Heitzman.
Before Dave gets too far, I want to thank the Town of Malta and Global Foundries Foundation. Without their grant to the Malta seniors, we would not be able to do what we do every year, so I am very grateful for that. The Malta seniors have kind of taken a 7-week hiatus because we've been out of our community center for that amount of time, and that has been difficult. It's probably been more difficult than COVID because we haven't had the place to gather, so we're going to have to configure something where we can take care of that this next coming year. With that, they have been very active. We are going on a trip in September. We just went up to Sheer Madness in Lake George and had a great time there. We're over 400 people strong, and we'll be coming back for cards and games shortly. Our meeting is September 11th because of the holiday, so if you're available and you're over 55 or under, come and see us for that meeting. We have great speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm Sharon Buck. I live at 18 Miller Road, and I'm coming today to refresh and renew the Miller Road residents' appeal for help regarding safety enforcement on Miller Road and Ruley Road. It has been a summer of speeding down Miller Road. I realize that you have been working closely with the Saratoga County Sheriff. We have seen some action there, and we appreciate that. Regarding the rest of our agenda requests, though, including speed signage, speed reduction, consideration of stop signs at multiple intersections on Miller and Ruley Road, we've heard nothing and seen no action. We're going on the better part of a year now since we really began this appeal in earnest and collectively, and are hoping that as the season turns and I'm sending my kids back down to the bus stop, we can see some progress towards safety improvements on Miller Road. So I'm here to request an update on the status of the engineering study that had been discussed at previous board meetings. I'm wondering if there's an update on that the board could provide tonight.
We have not heard back on our request for that study.
Okay, heard back from the engineering firm?
Well, at first it went to county first, then state. We haven't heard back from the state.
Okay, can we respectfully request an update by the next town meeting next month?
You certainly can.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That will be helpful to us. Is the engineering study from DOT necessary to consider our request for stop signage and speed reduction signage on Miller and Ruley Road?
Roger's not here. I would like to ask him that question as our highway
I think we
superintendent.
got to ask Roger, I'll ask him at least tomorrow about portable signs.
Okay.
Not the big one. I think we have smaller ones in the coffers in the back that we need to break out and get the dust off of.
Would be
And
great.
I think we have that. I'm pretty sure we do.
I've been told that they are there. I heard
So-
that there was some that may have been,
They were in a
Need
state
of
of repair
service.
for a while, but I can't understand why the
Person
repair would
was
take
taking
that long to take.
Okay, and
I
the
ha-
temp, sorry,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I have to apologize because as I enter my senior years, I'm increasingly confused, so I may not have this straight, but I thought we had a consensus that the town was going to request a proposal from our town designated engineer, whereby the town would actually evaluate not just the speed reduction, but would look more globally at the configuration of the road and what the options were to address the concern.
That was my understanding as well. I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up. Yeah, I'm confused on,
Yep, and I thought we had anticipated we were going to get some kind of written quote from the engineer to do that work. We seem to have that shared understanding. I guess you and I were confused about that.
Ro. Yes, Ro.
So we did request our town engineer. They came back to us and said, because we put in for a,
Speed reduction.
to wait until DOT comes back to us with their recommendation before we move forward with another study.
okay.
We have to let the process happen. And DOT could take up to a year, sometimes 6 months, a year, sometimes more. So at this point, we did a resolution. It was forwarded through the channels, through the county, through the state. Now we just have to sit and wait. So nothing else can be done until that's.
So what I can offer.
I would
if-
respectfully say that I understand that it's probably prudent to wait a bit to see what the state does, if anything. But at some point, if, they're unable to advance their own analysis, at some point, I would respectfully suggest we should move forward on our own.
Is
Craig, is there anything
there
you can
any
add? Because
reason why we can't put up the speed data signs that the town owns? It's my understanding they have 2 of them at the highway garage, but the problem is I'm getting conflicting answers as to they're out to be fixed, repaired, and I've also heard that they're garbage, and if they are garbage, why do we still own them?
Speculation on our part is not good enough for you, so we're going to have to find that answer, and you'll have that answer by the next town board meeting, where exactly the state of those signs are. Are they usable? Are they in a state of repair? And then if not, then why aren't we using them? That's on us. So we owe you that.
Thank you, and also an update from DOT through outreach. I think it would be very impactful for this board to do an outreach. I'd be happy to leverage connections with people that I have at DOT if that's helpful to this board. Please, I'm happy to do anything that would be,
Right, and I think
Assistive in advancing that.
excuse me, there is a critical piece of this puzzle I think we're really not paying close attention to right now. All of what we're talking about right now falls within the purview of highway superintendent, not necessarily the town board.
okay.
If he needs anything to support what he sees as reasonable or the proper course of action to take, it's up to us as town board members to support that request. We largely rely on what the highway superintendent wants us to do or asks us to do. So if we seem like we really don't really know which direction we're at right now, it's because we can only do so much up here at the dais. It's not our responsibility, if you will, to go out and track down engineering reports or track down safety or anything for that matter. That falls within the individual that's in charge of our highways. None of us up here are in charge of the highway.
I understand that, but as our representatives and the people that are here to help make our community
Oh, I certainly
safe-
understand that. I just want you to understand, and anyone that's listening, that if it seems like this is moving slowly, as was pointed out, first of all, we're talking about dealing with the state.
Yeah,
As soon as you start going up that food chain, I'm sure you realize how long that could very well take. I know Councilman Warner, you have spoken with our engineering to Councilman Hartzell's
called them
point.
just the other day, and they said they were not asked to do a traffic study. I also have talked to Roger about the speed signs. I've gotten quotes on them also. And if we have these two signs, why do we have to go to the state to get their authorization to put those data signs up on the street? I don't think we have to. And it would be a show of good faith by the town to install them ASAP. And then also, you can use the data from those signs to apply for the speed reduction also, I am told.
Yes.
It makes no sense to have them stored at the highway, and I want a clear answer as to where they are, what the status is, and when we're going to get them back. And I think Roger should come before us at our next town board and give us a full report on what we're asking tonight. If you state that he has full authority over that,
that would be helpful. It'd be
that's the least that we can do at this point.
The request for those signs, I think there's been 2 of them that were put in. I've signed both of those, and they've left my office. If they're not up yet, I couldn't tell you the reason why they're not up. Yes, Ro?
So, the large radar sign, speed reduction sign, has been placed on Miller Road, and I believe several times. The problem is, we get a list of them. So as it comes in, after a few weeks, it moves to a different road. Then after that few weeks, they keep track, highway keeps track, and then it gets moved again, which will eventually come back to you. It can't stay there for,
Hey,
I
Ro,
don't think we're talking about the
I'm
same
not
thing.
referring to
We're not
that
talking about the
sign.
same thing.
You looked up the
two
small
signs
signs.
that go on the post that were here
Right.
on Route 9
Yeah.
are not working. They need a battery, the batteries can't be found, it's too expensive, they're no good. They're not sitting in there not being used, they're sitting in there because they're broken, they cannot be used.
I was told they were sent out to get fixed, and the sales guy had to send them out. All I want is a clear answer, what's the status? That's all I'm asking for. I've asked Roger, I've asked Nancy, I've got
Okay.
emails.
We'll find out
I've
where
got
those signs
Thank you.
are, what's going on with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then there's the matter of stop signage as well, which I want to make sure stays on the agenda. You know, we are interested in any speed deterrent possible. And stop signage is a great way to disincentivize people using the Ruley to Miller Road cut through for a speedway from the highway to their neighborhoods. I don't know if this is something that, could be accomplished in anticipation of an engineering study being completed by DOT.
You really, and forgive me, I know I've said this before, but I don't remember it was on this topic. When you put traffic control devices up, it needs to be consistent with Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is a national publication put out by the American Society of Highway and Transportation Officials.
Right.
And if you put things up that are inconsistent with that, you actually create hazard and liability. So part of an engineering study that the town would undertake, I would hope, the scope of it would be to look at whether there are additional traffic control devices that could be appropriately placed.
Okay.
So that would be part of a town engineering study. We just can't throw signs up.
That's fine. I
creating
understand
a
that. So
hazard.
then our expectation collectively on Miller Road is that we will know the status of an engineering study, whether it be commissioned by the town or the status of an engineering study that might be commissioned by DOT. We will be at the next board meeting and we would like an update on that because non-progress is not acceptable.
I
And
agree
I
with you.
understand all of the excuses regarding cost, and it's out for repair and all the things, and we can keep tacking all of that on board meeting after board meeting. It feels very much like kicking the can down the road at this point.
The one thing in fairness, and I agree with you, especially as I'm getting older, my willingness to let time go by is diminishing. But I think it's a fair point that a holistic look at that road would involve an evaluation not only of the traffic control devices, but the speed, and the speed request, evaluation has been made. In an ideal world, you would be, before you did anything, you'd be looking at the whole picture. So I think.
All for it.
yeah,
I'm on your page.
I think we might want to be a little patient, which is not my strong suit, in seeing if we can get that state evaluation in a reasonable period of time so that when we do something at the town level, it's consistent with that.
Agreed.
And can be done in a, comprehensive and complete way.
I
My own
fully
opinion.
agree.
Yeah.
Yep, I fully agree. So I think it's just a matter of understanding status and timing for next steps would be helpful to us. So thank you for hearing me again. I did bring 2 other people who would like to speak regarding their experience with Miller Road for the record. Thank you.
I'm Eli Buck, and this is,
I'm Layla Buck.
and we also live on 18 Miller Road.
Like without these precautions and like the speed reductions and stuff, I don't feel comfortable or safe riding my bike down my road without a parent. And last year during the school year, I always had to be extra careful when crossing the road to get into my bus. And also, as we're getting older, me and Eli have to start doing chores such as getting the garbage cans at the end of our driveway. And even in my own driveway, I feel that I still have to be careful about the speeders. And when I go to get the mail, which is just across the road, I have to be careful even then. And I hope that I don't always have to feel that way.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I would like to say that any help would be appreciated, and I'm really appreciating what you guys are doing, and I understand any delays or, like callbacks that aren't being fully set out just because of difficulties, but after the speed limit tracker in a front yard has been removed, there's currently nothing on Miller Road that's making speeders aware of the preferred speed limit. So we would just appreciate anything that you could do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You give me cause to be optimistic about our future.
Anyone else from the public? Any comments?
I am Cynthia Young. I live on Collimer Drive. On October 3rd of 2022, this town board passed a resolution appropriating $121,000 to hire special consultants to, quote, evaluate the formation of a water district and the acquisition of a private water company. There was no public discussion about the acquisition of a private water company. On October 24th, we were told that we'd have more information in due course, whatever that means. In May, you passed a resolution to appropriate another $22,000 to the cost, again, with no public information about the nature of the acquisition. So I'm just here tonight, almost a year later, with Labor Day, believe it or not, coming up next week, just to remind you that we still are out here awaiting some information. Thank you.
Steve, did you want to respond?
I don't have anything further to add at this time. There is another attorney that's representing the town in the matter. But at this point, the only thing that can be said is due to some confidentiality and other requirements, the town is looking into the potential acquisition of a private water company and potential development of a water district. And until we have further clearance from legal, that's where we need to leave it.
Thank you, Steve. That probably doesn't answer your question, Cynthia, but
I didn't ask a question.
I think, yeah, you did.
That's a reminder.
Yeah, you did. Anyone else from the public with any comments? Okay. Well, we'll move into town board business. So the public hearing being open and closed for low-income seniors tax exemption amendment. We have that before us in resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Also, public hearing was open and closed for tax exemption for persons with disabilities and limited income amendment to that law.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Also carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to approve the stipulation settlement with LEJ Realty Holdings. Raylene, I don't know if you wanted to offer up anything to do with this resolution. I know you handled a good portion of this. Brief overview of what it is.
Yeah, only that, I was able to look at their income and expense information, and, they sort of met in the middle, very small reduction, around $4.6 million, assessment. So, I think this is probably one of the best ones I've seen.
Very good.
Which-
Thank you, Raylene.
What's the property, Raylene? I'm sorry.
CVS.
CBS, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you. And with the establishment of the Maltaville Water District, we have the resolution for the next process, step in the process rather, that is with the CT mail proposal.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Next item is to authorize a municipal cooperation with the town of Clifton Park for their hazardous waste day. That pretty much is for any folks, anyone that wants to get rid of hazardous waste, they can do so at Clifton Park, as long as you stop in and fill out an application with town clerk. I think it's a $60 fee for that, and that will be going on in October. I can't remember the exact date, but if anyone's interested in that, you can stop in and get that application.
September 23rd.
September 23rd, that's when it is. Thank you, Jen. So with that, we have that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. And we have a resolution to approve a historian conference for Paul Perrault. It's September 18th through the 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. For possible action on 9/11, and again, we do have a little bit of a break in between there. At 5 o'clock, we'll have a presentation for the facilities master plan update. They've been working on that for a while for us, and hopefully that'll be ready for that still on that date. So looking forward to that, see what they brought forward. Comptroller Court Audit Report, Justice Fossey and Justice Sloat. That is all set and ready to rock and roll. We'll be appointing a member, Carlton Bourne, who will represent Board of Assessment Review. He's with the Saratoga Lake area, so we'll have representation from down there. He's been appointed to fill a vacancy left by Chris Clark. Assessors Conference is going to be October 3rd through the 6th. Deed restriction for Luther Forest Athletic Field parcel. We'll be diving into. We haven't gotten an awful lot from Global on this right now. I don't know, Steve, if there's anything you want to add to that. I know it's pretty
Yeah, we don't have a final,
sparse at this time.
we don't have a final agreement for the deed restriction. EPA and New York State DEC are looking for us to amend or update existing restriction related to property owned by Global Foundries, the old test site. And there's a new requirement put forth by EPA after some studies and over in the 2018, 2019, 2020 time period that are coming to fruition now to put a 200-foot buffer around the existing parcel, and a very small portion of the town athletic fields are within that 200-foot buffer. What would be required is for some potential for any digging in that site, for it to be a management plan to before you excavate in that area, and an additional, if any structures were to be built within that area, they would need to comply with like a vapor system to basically let any vapors exit the house, kind of like a radon system. For the town of Malta, the area in which this sits, and there'll be additional information when the final easement or restriction is prepared, would be right along the road, and there's no buildings that would ever be built there that I could foresee. It would require, relocation of the road. And I don't think we're planning on doing any excavation in that area. And I don't think that stretch of road is under Town of Malta control any longer. So we'll have a further update hopefully next week. They wanted it to be done this summer, but we're still working through some of the legal process. I just wanted the board to be aware of it because it may require a little bit of lifting if depending on what comes back to us.
All right, thank you, Steve.
I just want to let the public know that the facilities master plan update, that is to present courses of action for the reconfiguration of this building, the courthouse, the highway department, and other future expansions and relocations. So that's what that's about. So what the future looks like, it's at 5 o'clock.
It's bright. It's bright. Thanks, Al. Also, just two other things for may or may not have action on 9/11. Likely try to set up for a public hearing on the 25th, one of which would be the Route 9 South Neighborhood District 3, and it has to do with some tweaking of the zoning, and then also streetscape that we're looking at, just do a little housekeeping of what we have in terms of our language in town code that addresses our sidewalks and such. So I'd like to be talking about that and get moving on them. That's all I have on that. Do we have anything else from the public in terms of comments at this time? Kathy, beat you, Ted.
Sorry, I'll be quickly. Yes, a couple things have been brought to mind. One is you're talking about the facility master plan for here. I would like to know if there's senior rooms in that master plan or what that would look like, because we cannot do another summer like we just did. Most of the surrounding towns that I know of have either a dedicated senior center or paid staff in a senior building. So we're one of the few and one of the largest organizations that doesn't have this. And we did really feel that this year. I personally really felt that this year. The other thing is I've been made aware that the Flex CDT is taking care of Stillwater, Mechanicville, Clifton Park, Half Moon, and not Malta. Ballston Spa, Town, Village, and Town of Milton have bus services. I'd like to be on some kind of group that can address this, because my seniors need transportation. Many of them are still working, and they need to get there, and they need to get to doctors, and need to get to social and groceries. So, thank you.
In terms of with the CDTA, I can tell you that I met with Carm Bazil, CDTA, earlier in the year to talk about a number of things, public transportation in general, which we're still working on. But as you know, we're working on a lot of things in this town, which it sucks up a lot of your time in any given area. So although we'd like to spend a lot more time on it, there's other things that dictate that they have the time as well. So with that being said, he has been working on trying to get at least a basic bus route up through this area and possibly up to Saratoga, up through Route 9. And during that discussion, we actually brought up the flex that Mechanicville-Stillwater area has been using as a possibility to maybe amend a bus route too, because the bus routes, as you know, are pretty much straight lined and they stick to the major arteries. So when you have outlying areas, that bus typically is not going to go and zigzag all over the place. They're going to go up Route 9, they're going to come back down. So we looked at ways to fill those gaps. We've talked to a couple businesses in town because a lot of it's, like anything else, it means money. So we're looking at what businesses would be willing to be stakeholders in helping with that process. And that's not dead. It just hasn't moved an awful lot since our discussion because of the things that we have going on in the town that just chew up time and the hours of the day. But we are on their radar. They do know that we want a route to come up through here to afford transportation, not just for seniors, but for people in general that want to go either north or south and can do it in public transportation.
Right. I was at a senior organizational meeting. It was a conference held for lots of the towns. And I had this conversation with Carmen, and he was wondering why I wasn't involved in the discussion. So that's why.
Why you weren't involved in the discussion?
Right, for the senior flex.
I told him
That
we
was
wanted to leave you.
Carmen.
I told him
So-
we wanted to leave you out of it. Didn't want you to muddy the water. No, I didn't say that really.
Thank
No,
you.
it's going to take some time. It's
understand.
baby steps. I mean, this is a huge thing. We had the bus 409 a number of years ago, which was provided through grant money, and they tried that, but we didn't have the transportation. Yeah, we didn't have the bodies on the bus,
Right.
and that they were looking to get. Now that's changed a lot since that.
Oh,
It's been 10,
absolutely.
15 years at least.
Yeah. I've
So
been-
hopefully we're gonna fall within the parameters now where we can warrant transportation.
Okay. Been president for 7 or 8 years now. So I want to make some changes. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else from the public? Teddy?
Ted Willett, 358 Brownell. The only suggestion that I have there is when you're discussing the traffic control devices that for Miller Road, that's apparently maybe out for repair or batteries not being able to attain. There are electronic signs that I've seen in operation through the state and other municipalities and as well as private contractors. Then I believe the town of Malta's largest sign that they have that utilizes a solar bank. If it is possible that if the batteries are not available, can they, or is it possible somebody could check to whether they could be adapted to solar? And that's just a suggestion to where I hate to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So if we can salvage part of the signs and adapt them, that would certainly be cost effective as far as then going out and buying all brand new. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Teddy, it's my understanding that they are solar and the batteries only store the energy from the solar panel. So, I mean, a battery can be changed out and adapted also. I'm just trying to get a clear answer. I've been getting multiple answers. The town owns the signs. Where are they? What's the status of it? That's all I want. Take it from there.
I just would like to see something happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Anyone else in the crowd?
Mark, may I?
John?
I'd just like to join you in paying tribute to Pete Ballet, who until this meeting, I didn't realize had passed away. And am sad to, learn of his passing. He was a great neighbor, really, and an interesting guy and someone of character. And not that I agreed with him all the time, but there was a basic decency in him. And it was obvious that he cared deeply for the town and for his family and his neighbors. And it was a privilege to have interacted with him. I can remember the first time I really talked to him much. I was running. I lived on Saratoga Farm Road, and I was running, trying to stay in shape. And he was out in the yard, and I stopped on the way back and talked to him. And I didn't realize this. His dad was a fairly talented artist who, with paintings that actually sold for real money, and he had been going through a dispute over ownership of those paintings. And the one thing I came to learn in looking at his obituary was what a kind of a dynamic and interesting and fully engaged person he was. He really lived life in a lot of ways, and the people that he was with and the things that he did, and really, his place in history of this town is now fixed, and we certainly all benefit from the things that he did for the community.
Yes, thank you very much, John. That's absolutely true. And it'll take a while to get used to this one. So, if anyone's all set, any other comments? Anyone? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, folks. Have a good night.